Hey guys, welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den. Winter Wolf here. Just got back from the movie theater, saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I gotta tell you, for the first time, and I can't remember how long, I don't want to punch myself in the face and eat a bowl of broken glass. Stay tuned for the review. Yeah, meant every word I just said. I'm surprised that they got it as right as they did. I have some nitpicks, and we all know I love my nitpicks, but nothing major jumps out. It makes me want to absolutely eviscerate this film. Let me just get you guys up to speed real quick on the plot. This is definitely Rocket's movie. But the plot goes, in the wake of Endgame and, dealing with kind of the world after whatever happened in the Christmas special, they got some reveals there. I don't remember. I didn't see all of it. A former foe of Rocket's, his creator, the High Evolutionary, is back in needing to repossess him on account of his unique status as being the High Evolutionary's greatest success. They need to bring Rocket back in alive so they can do some really gruesome and unfortunate things to his furry little brain. Shenanigans ensues, found family tropes ensue, Guardians things happens, and there we are. That's the basics of it. So let me get the good stuff out of the way, because there's some good stuff here. It's the Guardians. They do Guardian stuff, and it was great. You gotta love seeing actors and characters be themselves and do the things that you kind of expect them to do, while also learning, growing, and doing some random cool stuff along the way also. And that's one of the best parts, most fun parts about Guardians is that kind of, did it look cool? Like when they do something ridiculous and off the wall, especially if it almost kills them. So it was cool to see just the tone being correct. For as jokey as Guardians can be, when it hits the serious moments here, it hits. I didn't find the movie screwing around with that usual thing that Marvel does, where something serious or somber happens and they drop some dumbass one-liner right out from underneath it to ruin the moment. So I'm with that. It felt like Guardians, that the humor was there when it needed to be, and they had their serious stuff when that needed to be there too. The serious stuff for sure gets into all of Rocket's background, where he was a test subject, the experimentation, kind of those formative years, if there was that long, that kind of turned him into kind of the cynical, rough-cut pseudo loner that he is. And it was really, those moments hit hard when they hit hard, and that was a high point of the movie. Is once again, James Gunn proves that he can take a tree, a raccoon, a lampshade, I don't know what I got lying around here, like a stack of books, my headphones, and my Lego Infinity Gauntlet over there. He proves that he's a good enough writer to humanize these things and make you feel for them, make you feel their fear, their pain, their happiness, their elation. So kudos to him for getting Rocket right. This is the best I've seen Rocket in a long time. The best parts of the movie were told, after he is the inciting incident happened and he gets wounded, and the Guardians are on the clock for saving his life. That's trailer stuff. I don't feel like that was a spoiler, which I will try to avoid for you guys, because I know this is a fresh out still, and some of you guys might not have seen it. So it's Rocket's story told through flashback while the Guardians try to save him, present day kind of thing. All good stuff. Other good stuff in the flick are, Peter Quill's ongoing, inability to move on from Gamora that he lost in Infinity War or Endgame, whichever one it was, Infinity War. And coping with the fact that the Gamora that shows up in Endgame is not his Gamora, and they have that out in a couple of different scenes, and it ends in an inappropriate way how they resolve that situation. Again, I won't say more because not everybody might make it out of this movie, but I'll let you guys check that out so you guys can know that. Cool stuff visually. I really enjoyed some of the aesthetics, as I was saying to the friend, post movie we had our little breakdown, standing outside our cars. I said to her, I like when the movies can replicate comics and it doesn't make it look silly. Like, it's not so far over the top that it looks silly. Case in point example in this flick, one of the side quests that they have to do to save Rocket is get to a place to get an access card, yada, 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 to get a passcode that's going to give them the ability to fix him or whatever. But instead of it being like some standard stock footage, office building, on a different planet with a weird color scheme, they have to it's like a bio-organic compound, so they have to laser drill in through tissue, and it looks kind of goopy. A lot of the technology inside this place is goopy, control panels have goo that you put your hand in and rotate, and the security guards all look like beefed up hemorrhoids, which was a weird descriptor, but if you know, you know. Nathan Fillion turns in a little camo there. Dude, side note, how come Nathan Fillion isn't a main character in something Marvel related? People love this guy. Make him somebody. We got Kurt Russell in there last second. Let's get some Nathan Fillion in here. You know what I mean? He deserved better than being a no-name security guard, in an office building at a biotech park. Come on, guys. Marvel, get Nathan Fillion. Come on. But, yeah, so the look of it was kind of cool. There was all the usual Guardian stuff that looks cool. Groot looks cool. Redesigned. He's a little older and bulkier now. That was cool. The spaceships always look cool. There's decent ship-to-ship combat that comes up at the end. Really easy to follow. It's visually very distinct. It's not like a buzz of drones that are just all... I mean, that's kind of what they are, but they're at least visually separate, and you can see and understand what's going on. It's not like a Michael Bay Transformers action scene where you literally just see metal moving. You have no fucking clue what's going on. So kudos to them for the aesthetics. The visual is always good. The music, I know it's kind of like a thing for Guardians of the Galaxy. We worked our way up through 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. The music hits in a couple places. Other places, it's not really anything to write home about. It's kind of overused a little bit. They end on a good tune. Spoiler alert there. I won't say anything. Actually, not spoiler. I won't ruin it. But it's a classic. So you guys can enjoy that when that comes up. Performances, solid. Drax, dude. Dave Bautista, dude. He turns it in. It's funny watching him do the thing. What's his name? Chris Pratt as Star-Lord does his Star-Lord thing. Also very, very good. Nebula as Karen Gillan, always very... She needs to be in more stuff where she's not bald with blue hair, because good God is she attractive. But yeah, no, the Guardians all do their thing with their banter and their back and forth. It gets a little grating at times, because the title of the video, as you can see, it's Yellers of the Galaxy or Screamers of the Galaxy, because I feel like everything Mantis and Nebula and Drax say to each other, and including Quill in there too, there's a little too much of that where they're trying to do the dysfunctional family thing, and they lay that yelling on thick, and I'm like, all right, guys, cool, be cool, just calm down. It's cool. Everything's gonna be all right. Nobody stole nothing. It's okay. But yeah, so they get a little bit into the yelling, a little bit too much, and I'm kind of like, all right, this is borderline CW, crappy Doctor Who. Most recent seasons were just people yelling at each other and screaming and complaining about some nonsense that they don't need to complain about. Pacing good. Movie moves right along. It drags in a couple of places where it could have been trimmed down. The runtime's 2.5 hours, and that's after a legit 35 minutes of trailer. So get that out the way. get the pee breaks and the snack breaks out the way, because you're gonna want your button seat, especially for the latter half of the movie, where everything is kind of revealed and all the really cool action stuff goes down. So you don't want to be doing the dance in your seat, trying not to leave a mark. You know what I mean? So yeah, get that out of the way, because you're gonna want to be there at the end for sure. They could have easily trimmed, you might have heard this in other videos online already, they could have trimmed an easy 30-40 minutes out of this, and it'd have been a really tight, really well paced, flowed out kind of ordeal. But it's not enough to get all bent out of shape over. Something that might be your thing to get bent out of shape over, though, was the treatment of Adam Warlock. Who was that dude? That wasn't the Adam Warlock I remember reading as a kid. Some bumbling mama's boy that doesn't know what a pet is, or what family is. It was just weird. I don't remember that at all. I remember Adam Warlock being the guy that actually won the Infinity Gauntlet. And we know, obviously, MCU movies, that's it's its own thing. It's its own world. So yes, they took creative liberties, and they had Iron Man and Captain America very wisely being the focal characters that they had that resolved the Infinity Gauntlet crisis in the movie world, which is fine. But I think that James Gunn being fired from Marvel, whatever year that was, after leaving the Easter egg in Guardians 2 foreshadowing Adam Warlock. I think that he just felt like he had to write him back in because he established him in World, so they needed to use him. I mean, I don't get it. The dude was in the movie for about 6 minutes. Like, I shit you not, 6 minutes. He sets up the inciting incident wherein Rocket's wounded and puts the Guardians on the clock, like I mentioned before. Flitters in and out of the movie, making an ass out of himself 3, 4, 5 times, and then at the end comes back for like a heroic move, near the end. I won't spoil his outcome or what he does to who or whatever, because I really want you guys to see it. And let me know in the comments below if you thought the Adam Warlock character was completely wasted. I think he did, but again, I've had this complaint about our heroes and other things, but here they get enough right with the main Guardians cast that it's like, okay, so you threw in one guy who should have been better, but he wasn't there for 45 minutes and have his own plot and get hosed out of that. So it's kind of whatever. That's too bad. They could have done something more with him. They didn't. You guys might remember back when James Gunn was set to be the kind of like the guru going forward for the cosmic phases, like 4 and 5. And I think we might have gotten a whole different story out of him, for him, if James Gunn hadn't been removed. But yeah, dude, the movie, I'll say this, for parents, if there's parents out there listening, this might not be for your youngins, as far as Marvel stuff goes. The subject matter with like the animal testing and the experiments, it's brutal. They don't show a lot, but like the tension and the tone is there enough to make you wonder if your kids are going to be okay. Winter Wolf's a parent himself. My kid handles this stuff okay, but there's a couple of them where I'd be like, oh, I don't know. So I might put the hold on that and check in and see if you watch it yourself first, and then figure if your own kid can handle that, because the subject matter does get kind of deep. There's nothing explicitly violent about any of it, like gory wise, until the very end. When the heroes lay the ass kicking down on the High Evolutionary, which was kind of cool because again, it's that you never fight alone. You get that Gears of War vibe. So you got your team, you squad up, you never fight alone, and they handle business, which was nice. But yeah, moments with the animal stuff, they can be heavy for kids. But for us grown-ups, it lent itself to being the most compelling part of the movie. The best parts of the movie were Rocket's parts in flashback, seeing him start from like this meek little thing that barely could talk into his evolution as he grew more intelligent and he was thinking for himself, which is what kicks off his unique status in his place in the High Evolutionary's kind of menagerie, where he's never been duplicated, and that's why the High Evolutionary wanted him back, so he could test him and be like, I've made millions of beings across countless worlds and built societies and raised them down because they failed because they were never you. Because you're the one that innovated, you're the one that thought something that had never been thought, so it lent itself to showing just really how cool, unique, how special Rocket is in the context of that world. He has some scenes where he's friends with other animals that are in that testing situation that are also hyper intelligent because not hyper intelligent, anthropomorphized and intelligent, and they bond. And when bad things happen to those characters, one in particular, Rocket lets out this primal, misery-filled scream. And it's like, my best reference for that is like The Princess Bride, where like, they hook Wesley up to the pain machine, and it's sucking years of life out. And, Inigo hears the scream and he goes, that's the sound of like total despair. Like, dude, Bradley Cooper nailed that yell. It was awful. And like you felt it. The same thing, not on that same level, but close. When it looks like they're not going to be able to save Rocket in a particular scene or keep him floating while they're doing the rest of the movie to get him resolved. The shot you see in my thumbnail and across the internet there, that's Star-Lord just going apoplectic that he thinks he's losing him. And like, you feel that. Nebula has a moment like that also, regarding Rocket along the way, where she, like, as strong and stoic as she is, like, she breaks down and you're like, oh, good God. Like, finally in an effing Marvel movie again, there's some stakes, like there's something for you to latch onto emotionally and derive some connection from. And it's not just for all the special effects in this movie, like it's not just shit flying by your face that you don't care about, and then 90 minutes later, not 2 hours later, it's over and you don't care. Like, I'm still thinking about that scream and the rage that it pulled out of Rocket in that moment when he finally snapped and took his swing finally at that breaking point at the High Evolutionary and fucked him up. Oh my God, that part was savage. And again, they don't need to show, they show it over Rocket's shoulders, and they show him from behind doing his raccoon thing, and you don't get the big reveal about how badly he messed this dude up until the very end. So whew, that was some gore. That think Two-Face from Dark Knight. We'll leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna want to see that, because that's some savagery as that goes down. But all in all, dude, it's I'm gonna get out of here in a minute. I just wanted to say, get out and see this movie. You know, this movie it's suffering in a lot of the same ways I think Solo, a Star Wars story, did after the TLJ debacle. Like, Solo has its own problems as a movie, but you know, it didn't deserve as much of the backlash, and I take that back. It deserved all the backlash from TLJ, but it's like, but it wasn't judged on its own faults or its own merits. And I think that's going to happen to Guardians here, because I'm going to put the numbers up on the screen here that just show you the trend of how Marvel's been kind of what their last couple of phases have done. I think Guardians is bearing the brunt of like the normies waking up now, and they know that there's a lot of stuff that is not well reviewed on Disney Plus. They know that all things in Phase 4 and have been awful, and that Phase 5 is off to a rocky start with Ant-Man, which I think there's articles out there now that are saying Ant-Man might be losing in the neighborhood of $125 million for Disney, and that was Paul Rudd. People love the Rudd. They didn't love him for that. I think that we are tuning these things out after Thor: Love and Thunder, because just to how awful and terrible that was. Guardians here, they lowered projections. I think it's coming in at something like 114 mil for the last 3-day weekend. And that's after they lowered it initially from like $150, $160. And of course, they'll paint that as a major success that it overperformed, because we lowered it to 110 and it made 114. Like, that's not how the numbers work, guys. So Marvel's in a rough spot. They need 2, 3, 4 tight movies with lower budgets, with good stories, with characters people want to see. They need these in a row to get the ship back on track, if it can be put back on track. The next set of projects coming up, let me just show you the little notaroo we got here. It's not looking good. I mean, there's a trailer from the Marvels that we saw at this flick today. That's coming out in November, I think. People laughed, and not at jokes. Like, people just laughed, like at, not with. And I love that Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel is getting some big screen time, because I actually did enjoy that show. I think that's the best Disney Plus show they did. But much like all these other things, the good things are getting lost in the shuffle of the crap that they put out. So adding her in there is not going to put butts in seats, because more people watch She-Hulk than Ms. Marvel, and She-Hulk was awful. Adding Monica Rambeau as Photon or whatever Captain Marvel variant she is in the movie, that's not putting butts in seats. Brie Larson's not putting butts in seats. I mean, expect Marvel probably to take a loss on the Marvels. After that, it's Captain America: New World Order. No Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. Probably not going to get the turnout they want. I'm not sure it will. And then after that, it gets even more ambiguous and nebulous. Like, after that, they've got Thunderbolts. I mean, I don't know. Do we need a Marvel version of Suicide Squad? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure anybody's super hyped about that, except maybe the tiniest niche of people. And then after that, they have things like Blade, which God only knows if that movie gets made at this point. Like, it's been rewritten at least twice. The Star's been documented as being not thrilled with the progress it's having. We got a writer's strike going on too, if you guys didn't know that. Now, the last time that happened, 10 years ago or whenever that was, it took like 100 days, give or take, to resolve. And this could be a touching point where Disney, at MCU says, we're going to jettison and flush all this crap that hasn't been started, like Blade. I mean, some of these other things are already being worked on, like the Marvels is happening. But I mean, things like Blade, if that writer strike doesn't get done and they don't get to work and film things quickly, Mahershala Ali has other things he can do. He doesn't need to stick around and push 50 and be Blade or however old he is. Like, no, you may as well put me in there as Blade at that point. So I think we're in uncharted waters for these guys at Disney as they try to figure out how to course correct going forward. Do you stick to your guns and really think people are going to be showing up in droves to get Disney Plus subscriptions to watch, you know, Kate Bishop as Hawkeye in a season 2, or, you know, or to watch Blade's daughter take on the Blade legacy? Like, no, I think people are done with fake legacy characters and like no names. I think we're good with that. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I appreciate you hanging out. If you're here with me at the end of the 20-minute review, mostly spoiler free, I hope, of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, drop a comment if you don't mind. Drop me a like if you don't mind. Sub if you want. Like, I'm willing to earn it. I'm willing to keep at it. You know, we're having fun making these videos here. But I appreciate the conversation more than anything else. You know, drop them comments. Have you seen Guardians? How does it stack up versus the other two? Did you like the High Evolutionary? Did you think the performance was a little too hammed up? Personally, I enjoyed it, as you noticed in the video. But yeah, dude, let's get the conversation rolling on some of these reviews. It helps keep things lively and gives me a better idea of what you guys want to see more. But until next time, it's been Winter Wolf saying, I'll catch you in the next one.